Hey everybody, welcome back. Northernlion plays The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. Wasn't gonna sneak in another episode today, but I'm gonna, and I'll do it again at J36N F3Z1. Why? It's quite simple. We kill the Batman. It's quite simple. You gotta get back to those double digits, you know? You gotta get back to the double digits. That's the only place I feel normal. It's the only place I feel like myself in Isaac. Triple digits, you know, we'll work on it. Takes some time. Double digits is the bare minimum level of acumen and support, right? So the ones that are already burning are gonna die when we use Unicorn Stump. We are essentially one item, one orbital away from having the easiest run of all time. However, we are also faced with a dilemma, and the dilemma here is that we don't know how much HP we have. We may have a very low amount of HP. Like if we have 1, for example, that's going to leave us in the lurch. We got to be extremely careful, because you can always just like Unicorn Stump is really good. Actually one of the best spacebar items in the game, by virtue of being one of the very few that does more than nothing. However, the invisibility or invincibility timer, sometimes it can trip you up because you're basing it like pretty much entirely on music. You miscalculate a little bit, you run into an enemy, oops, you're dead. It happens, you know? Happens every day. Don't even put it on the news because it's not news. They call it the things that we expected to happen. It's a show nobody would watch because they'd be like, I knew that was going to happen. What am I talking about? I've got no idea. We'll at least hold the pill. I can't imagine a situation in which it is not better to take caffeine pill. Worst case scenario, just never use the, just never use it. Okay, honestly, our HP is pretty bad. On the other hand, Dry Baby is like, it's not an orbital. Kind of. It doesn't mean it's worth nothing. We could probably finesse it to actually do some real damage. Just by, like, standing up close. As you can see, that's working out like gangbusters. I'm not sweating it, though. I'm not sweating it. All we need, 1 famine, 1 pestilence, 1 war. Good God, what is it good for? A level 1 orbital? Absolutely something. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to Unicorn Stump in. We should be able to Unicorn Stump out as well, because there's enemies in here. They're going to die here. They're going to die here. Right here. Right here. We're going to step on the button. I regret everything. But that's fine. We still got in and out for free. Not the restaurant. I got to say, man, I was losing my mind. Did you see the video from last week where they opened an In-N-Out in a mall in Aurora, Colorado? And there was a 12-hour estimated lineup to get in. Or to go through the drive-thru, I should say. That's a really good item. I think everybody knows. Help me. I think everybody knows this on a logical level. But I gotta tell you something. If you've never eaten at In-N-Out, it is not worth a 12-hour wait. I would even say to you, in my personal opinion, I mean, it depends on your tolerance for waiting around for restaurants, right? Like, when I was a kid, if we went to a restaurant, and, you know, I was with my mom and my dad, and they were like, oh, it'll be half an hour till we can get a table, my parents would just be like, absolutely not. I mean, nicely. They wouldn't be like, what? They would be like, no, we're gonna try to find someplace else. And then instead of spending half an hour enjoying each other's company, and I was worth it. Half an hour enjoying each other's company, and then, you know, sitting down at the restaurant we originally wanted to go to, we would spend 45 minutes walking around trying to find a reasonable facsimile, and then get to that restaurant and they'd be like, it'll be like a 10-minute wait. And we'd be like, okay, that's fine. And somehow it feels better to only wait for 10 minutes, even though you would have been eating 20 minutes ago if you just stayed at the original place. My wife and I, again, this is, you know, pre-COVID times, you know, we pick whatever restaurant we want to eat at. If they say it's going to be a half hour, I don't even have to ask. I go, that's fine. Unless it's like a emergency hunger situation. If they said 45 minutes to an hour, that's where I'd be like, hey, put our name down on the list. Then I'd talk to Kate and be like, you want to do this? Because I'm happy to wait. That doesn't bother me at all. I didn't want to take this. I just kind of got stuck there, but I'll live with it. This won't kill us, right? Yeah, we lived. Anyway, take me down here. But and I've waited like when I was in, I think this was when I was in San Jose for TwitchCon 2 years ago, 2 years ago. I went to Chick-fil-A, and like originally we were gonna go to this one Chick-fil-A, and then we got there and the lineup, it was just like a normal day. We got there, the lineup was like out the door. So I was with my manager, and he was like, let's just drive to this other one that's closer to where I live. So we did do that. We waited in the drive-through line for maybe like 15 minutes before we got to the front, which is crazy to me. I understand that jokes make themselves. I had never seen that before in my life, where like the drive-through line actually took up a lane of traffic on the way in. Like the road was like a 3-lane road, and the right lane was just people trying to turn right into the Chick-fil-A drive-through. Anyway, regardless, it was worth it. I don't mind waiting for restaurants. I could have summed it up in 5 seconds, but instead I chose to spin you a little bit of a yarn. I don't mind waiting for restaurants if it's the restaurant I want to go to, and I for the most part, I'm like, the mental overhead of having to choose a restaurant is more painful to me than the potential praise that I would get from being like, hey, you saved us 5 minutes by... Because most of the time, like, I mean... By switching, anyway. Most of the time, like, what are the reasons a restaurant is busy? There's only a couple, and they're all worth thinking about. It's really good, and thus, you know, there's a lot of people that want to go. There's high demand. Okay, that's a good reason to maybe stay if the wait's not too crazy. What else you got? There's not a lot of tables. Okay, that's one you might want to consider for yourself. Like, there's a ramen restaurant in the west end of Vancouver called Ramen Danbo. And, you know, at, like, pre-COVID times, they maybe had, like, 10 tables they could seat people at maximum. Sometimes you see 40 people in line, and it's, like, 20 groups of 2. And you go, you know what, we're going to be here for too long. Let's just go, you know, to the Korean barbecue restaurant that's half a block away. This should work. It worked! And then let me in. Dude, that was perfect. Don't really care for Onsus, honestly. I think we will 2 of spades right away. And then the other one is that it's just peak dinner hours. Like, I think you're playing with fire. If you're like half an hour wait for a restaurant, that's ridiculous. And then you go try to find another restaurant to eat at, but it's like 7 p.m. on a Friday or Saturday. Like, you know what you're getting into. Any restaurant you can find that won't be busy is probably more likely to have some problems of its own, you know? I honestly think we still want Unicorn Stump out of all of these. Even though we haven't gotten our orbital gain yet, I think it's well worth it. That hurt. That hurt me a great deal, and now I'm quite frightened. Anyway, 12 hours is insane. I think you gotta set for yourself the maximum amount of time you'd wait for a restaurant. For me, it's about an hour. I mean, obviously, like, if you were gonna make reservations, it's a much different story. But, I might make an exception to that by a little bit in a very special case, but an hour is about where I start to be like, okay, thank you for letting me know that's too much. I popped it just because I got scared. I got scared that we were going to run into trouble there. I think we made a good decision, honestly. The fact that people were waiting in line for 12 hours to go to In-N-Out scares me. Scares me a great deal because I feel like I should let you know. In-N-Out, I think that if it were a stock, it's peaked at least for the recent history, you know? There was a time where everybody was talking about In-N-Out at all times, it felt like. I've eaten it 3 or 4 times in my life myself. I've enough to clarify an opinion on it. How do I feel about In-N-Out? Let me out, and don't let me back in. How do I feel about In-N-Out? The burger is pretty good. The French fries, without animal style, are genuinely bad, in my opinion. Animal style, the fries are fine. A pretty good burger and fine fries, in my opinion, not worth... I wouldn't wait an hour to get into an In-N-Out, let's put it that way. Shake Shack, if I really wanted Shake Shack... That hurts. If I really, really wanted Shake Shack, I would wait an hour. We don't have them here. I understand that's the other thing, is that there's like a limited amount of, you know, availability for the In-N-Out. So it's less like, you know, oh, it's gonna be worth it, and more like I've been wanting to try this for a long time and haven't been able to. That being said, I mean, we gotta take it. Even though it's so spicy right now. I think you also, and this is not meant to be like too judgmental, but I think if you're at the point where like you're willing to spend your whole Saturday because going to a fast food restaurant is a cultural event, then maybe that's an opportunity, and again, it's a little judgmental, but maybe that's an opportunity for you to consider like a reprioritization of that. If you catch my drift. Anyway. Also, like, you're not in a line. You gotta recognize that, right? Like, you're not, you know how they say you're not in traffic, you are traffic? You're not in a 12-hour line to get In-N-Out. You're like, what are these people doing here? This is crazy. You're part of the 12-hour line. I know people don't like to hear that they're a part of the herd, but in this case, like... Anyway. So what are the takeaway points from this 10-minute diatribe? Namely, my takeaways are, I do think that if you are one of those people that refuses to wait under any circumstance for more than 10 minutes to get into a restaurant, I feel like you're probably, if you're being honest with yourself, spending more time than you're saving. HP is pretty precious here. And moreover, I don't know, sometimes, like, my parents have a really good relationship. This is, like, for real, for real. I've seen them argue, like, one time in my 31 years of existence, and it wasn't even really, like, a real argument. I don't even remember the specifics of it. I just remember I was, like, 10, and we were at Dairy Queen, and I was like, whoa, the energy's kind of weird. Apart from that, they have a really good relationship, but sometimes my mom will, like, make a dinner plan in her head, and she'll be like, oh, all week I've been looking forward to going to, like, this pasta place that I found. Like, it was recommended in this magazine that I read. I'm so looking forward to going to this pasta place. We're gonna go on Saturday. It's gonna be fun. She's talking it up. She's like, I looked at the menu. I don't know what I'm gonna get yet, but what are you gonna get, you know? And then we'd get there, and they'd be like, oh, it'll be a half-hour wait. And my mom would be like, you know, to my dad, what do you think? And he'd be like, should we go look someplace else? And I'm like, it's like a quiet resignation of like, okay, I understand. I am the one that's quietly resigned, by the way, in my relationship. That's because I'm the easygoing one, for sure. Don't tell her I said that. I'm compounding the joke, but also, don't snitch. No, she would agree, for certain. But I think, you know, if the person that you're eating with, you know, they built it up in their minds, it's gonna be half an hour, it's gonna be 40 minutes, you know. I guess, like, another way that I phrase this is like, you know, I never like to be in a position where I've put myself in a spot where I absolutely, like, have to eat right now or it's all going wrong. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it doesn't happen from time to time. Sometimes, you know, you you just end up getting like a spike of low blood sugar or something, and you're like, I gotta eat immediately. Sometimes you think you're hungry, but you actually end up being ravenous for whatever reason. You know, it definitely does happen. But I think if it happens to you like every dinner, you gotta re-examine your eating habits a little bit. Like, I can't deny that it's probably actually healthier to only eat when you're hungry. It's like when your body sends you the signal that you're hungry. Well, people always talk about it with respect to thirst. Like, with respect to thirst, they're like, if you're thirsty, your body's already going through dehydration. Okay, fair enough. But hunger is like, you know, I'm not saying that you should only exclusively eat when you're starving. I definitely do not fall into that camp. You know, I eat for sport. I would say like at least 50% of the eating I do is when there's like literally no hunger signal at all. One of two things happens. I either go, oh, it's been a while since I ate, or I just go like, you know what would taste good right now? Some Lay's Poppables. Now, is it ironclad nutrition advice to eat only when you're hungry? Probably not. Would I be 25 pounds svelter if I only ate when I was hungry? Probably, yes. You can examine that for yourself. Would I lose some muscle mass? I don't know. Look, I don't want to say that I wouldn't lose any muscle mass. All I would say is if I was concerned... People will tell you, like, oh, be careful. You're going to lose, like, muscle mass. And you're like, yeah, but you're also, like, the person telling that to me, you're not even working out. When you only become concerned with muscle mass when you're, like... Somebody else is talking about going on a little diet, you know? Anyway, I don't know. I'm trying to put the system on trial here. Just enjoying my day, by the way. It's the same day as yesterday. Well, the day I'm recording this is the same day as yesterday's episode. No, not to, like, maximize confusion. I'm excited, you know, sleep is at a premium right now, for sure. I'm not getting as much sleep as I would like, but probably more than the average person with a newborn is getting. I think our baby actually sleeps really well. But still, you know, you'd always... I mean, if I'm complaining, I'd always like a little more. Ooh, let's go. So I like to start... Like, I need to record some chess today. I need to record some Slasher's Keep. But particularly for chess, you know, you want your cognitive abilities to be, like, a little bit elevated. And in the morning, I'm trash. Like, I'm nothing. I could just... Literally, like, this morning from 6 to 8:30, which is when I woke up at 6, I was taking care of the baby, but you might be like, did you get anything done? I got nothing done. And the 2.5 hours felt like it evaporated. Like, it felt like 2.5 minutes. I still think we're better off. Maybe I'm naive on this one, but I still think we're better off with the unicorn stump. There's not a whole lot of time left for us to get this to pop, but I'm hopeful nonetheless. I'm hopeful nonetheless. I mean, the run is set, as you can tell. Yo, do I like it? No. However, it does allow me to get this money. Okay. And also to get into here. Sure, why not? Not bad. Anyway. So yeah, it's like, it's good, but I am a little tired. So these Isaac episodes right now are kind of, okay. Kind of like my cognitive warm-up, so I'm ready to play chess, even though, you know, it's all I would say is imagine what my chess moves would look like if I didn't do this little warm-up. That's the thing that should scare the bejesus out of you. But yeah, it's been a fun time. I've been really trying to, like, experiment more on both YouTube and Twitch. Like, I played a little Dead by Daylight on Tuesday. with a streamer and YouTuber by the name of Sinow, S-I-N-O-W, Sinow Beats, at twitter.ca. No, nobody's using .ca, okay? At twitter.com. Noted Dead by Daylight content creator. I mean, I'm enjoying what's happening here, but still. Now, it turns out Tuesday is not a great day to be doing that because Steam maintenance and also, like, our building... Lol, let's go, dude. Our building had fire alarm testing, which was insanely annoying, even though I also understand, like, anytime you complain about fire alarm testing, people are like, well, do you want to burn to death in a fire? And you're like, no, I don't want to burn to death in a fire. But is it possible that it didn't have to take 4 days? Anyway, I don't know, I guess not. It's not like they're here for fun. Like, you know what's fun? Being away from my family, setting off this alarm over and over and putting my head right next to the speaker. But still. But, you know, I think, like, a couple of years ago, I was very, like, not anti-collaboration. I wasn't like, oh, these are bad. But when people would, like, say to me, like, oh, you should collaborate with this person, or you should collaborate with this person, I was very much, like, in my own thing. You know, I was like, I got my own thing going on. I don't, you know, I've been at this for a long time. I don't want to have to compromise with anybody. I don't want to have to make new friends. I don't have friends. They disappoint me, etc., etc. And like this baby mode that we're in right now is making it's. I made this analogy years ago when Cobalt had his kid. I was like, I think having a baby is almost like when you get a Pringles can, you know, and you kind of. You know, you smack it. You don't smack the baby. I want to be clear. This is why I hesitated on the analogy here. But basically, you know, your life is the Pringles can, and the baby is shaking it up. The chips are either going to fall into line and get more organized, or a couple of them are going to break, you know? And maybe the ones that break are ones that are not conducive to your newfound life and reshuffling of priorities that you have now that you're a parent. And the ones that get in order, you know, that's maybe an optimization of processes that you had before. I'm like way more open to doing collaborations and new variety and playing new games. And honestly, I think I got the baby energy to thank for it. So I don't know, it's got me thinking like, hey, you know, why not try some new things instead of being like, oh, but if I try new things, my Isaac backlog will fall to 3 days instead, well, probably fall to like 7 days instead of 10. No, let's, you know. I think people are noticing too. I've gotten a lot of messages that are like, I'm enjoying the variety lately. Hey, I'm enjoying making the variety lately, so thank you. We're going to take Guppy's Tail only because we want Maw of the Void, so it's essentially the same price. It's kind of like, it's not a great Maw of the Void, because we are going to shoot like 25 shots from Ipecac during the time that Maw of the Void charges, which is very not good. Yeah, I think we should just ignore the fact that we have this item. I was like, you know, we can kind of make it work because we have, you know, Unicorn Stump. We could charge it up and then, like, use Unicorn Stump and then walk into the enemies, but no, I don't think it's the right play. I think we should just ignore that we have it and embrace the damage upgrade. Really, with 70 damage, HP is obviously, like, the only thing that could hurt us here. Okay, we just needed to clear a lane, and then we're in. And also, like, that's kind of like... And this is a little bit more of a sensitive subject, I guess, but that's kind of what we talk about in Isaac. Not sensitive subjects, but, you know, it's kind of like my podcast. It's like my real conversations. Can I open a bridge over here? I can. You're gonna laugh, but I kind of would have preferred a Spirit Heart, but you know what? It's nice nonetheless. It's nice nonetheless. I'm not gonna be like that. But it's kind of also, like, influenced the way that I feel about, like, collaborations. Because I've done collaborations in the past. I always invited, like, the same people. And I think that there's good and bad as a result of that. You know, the good thing is that you've got a stable network of people that, you know, you're helping with opportunities, and the idea would be that they would help you with opportunities in the future as well when they were presented to them. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. The other thing is, you know, you already know that you like to work with these individuals. So it's a good natural fit that makes the content better. And the community's already familiar with those individuals as well. So it's kind of like it's a natural partnership, right? But I think there's disadvantages that I hadn't considered. And honestly, like my philosophy for this has been that, like, you know, I've been watching the Among Us boom on Twitch. And Among Us, I think, is a great game. I like it. I'm not in love with it. But I think that's more about, like, my personal taste than it is about the game. I wouldn't say anything negative about the game. Obviously, it's getting huge for a reason. But also, like, it's brought all these people together that wouldn't have otherwise maybe done collaborations together. And the rising tide has kind of, you know, raised all ships. So I've got a couple of things. I mean, we've been working with Sinnoh. We did a collaboration with Mertz. Basically, this has me thinking I'm going to be way more open to collaborations. Not collaboration focused, not taking away Isaac to start making, you know, reaction trailer videos or whatever, but just a little bit more collaboration open to it. Just a little bit more open to it. So again, we did the Rocket League stuff with Mertzy, and maybe we'll do a little more of that if we find the time. We're gonna do a chess collaboration with the chess channel that people say is a good fit, and also that reached out. Trying to think of what else. Oh, like by the time this goes live, I'm trying to think about, because I don't want to spoil anything, especially if it's like under some kind of non-disclosure, but we're playing in like a charity Call of Duty Warzone tournament soon, and we're gonna have some new almost said fresh meat, which is really not the sentiment you want to use, but we're gonna be working with some people that we don't normally work with. And then also later in December, there's gonna be a really cool event on Twitch that we're gonna try to reach out to some people that they've always wanted, or the audience has always wanted to work together, us to work together, and by us I guess I just mean me, but it's just kind of never come to pass, mostly because of me, and now, like, hopefully we'll be able to make it happen as a result of this cool event. So it's yeah, don't take it as a negative. Like, you can never bring up anything to do with change without it coming across negatively. It's the same thing that I said regarding the thumbnails, which have now been sorted out and everybody's fine, right? Or, you know, 99% of people are fine regardless. You know, I have in my opinion, a track record over the last, like, decade of YouTube of mixing it up a little, but always giving the core audience what they came for in the first place. Which, you know, I can't say that it's always like, you know, everybody's always just here for the Isaac, because I don't think that's true. But, you know, giving you the same style of content that you've come to expect. So, you know, just give me, again, a little breathing room, and moreover, like, I think you should look forward to this stuff. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to add to the content. It's going to add to the overall, you know, value of being a subscriber, or at least being a viewer. I think it's going to be good. That's what I'm trying to say. It's a really roundabout way of saying pretty much everywhere. I think it's going to be good. And it doesn't mean we won't, you know, see some familiar faces involved, but it's like, you know, maybe it, again, in the same philosophy as a rising tide raises all ships, maybe it would also raise all ships if not all ships were always in the same harbor. Maybe you could go out to, like, if you're in the Atlantic, you could cross into, you know, the Pacific via the Panama Canal, and then you could, you know, come back with some fish that we've never seen before and be like, whoa, dude, what are those? And you'd be like, that's barramundi, brother. It tastes like Chilean sea bass, but is much more sustainable. And yet no less delicious. I can't believe it. It finally worked. Okay. We really shouldn't have cause to be scared on this run, but still a little frightened regardless. You know what? If we get the deal with the devil here, I actually do think we should take Shade. I think it would work reasonably well with Unicorn Stump. Not amazing, but okay. Time to put your money where your mouth is. Any red hearts here, by the way? This would change my strat just slightly. Come on. Come on. Come on. Yo, that's pretty good. Alright, give me Shade on this one. And I recognize we could have gone for, like, the invincibility, or permanent Polaroid invincibility, but I don't think it's that worthwhile. We do have 9 lives, plus Unicorn Stomp. It's very nice. Anyway, so that's, just the stuff that's on my mind when it comes to content this week. Come on, man. And honestly, like, I think I've gaslit myself. Like, one of the reasons that I was not anti-collaboration, but, like, didn't do that many new collaborations. It sounds like I was just in my own bubble, like, I'm not liking people. But you gotta remember that, like, that's not really the case, For 7 years, I've run a show on Twitch where I, collaborate with people every single day. Or, multiple times a week at least. It's just, adding new people into the equation was kind of on the back burner. So it's definitely not like I'm like, oh, I'm just antisocial. Why would you attack there? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dry Baby. So that's where I'm at philosophically. I think it's gonna be good. Or if it's not so good, whatever. You do a video with somebody and it's not a great fit. It's the odds that it's going to be a catastrophe are non-existent. Might just be like, hey, I respect what you're doing, but just not a perfect fit. Anyway, this is all inside baseball. It's what it's all about at this point. Restaurant dynamics and inside baseball. Get me out of here. I'm more concerned about this run than I would like to be. We have a lot of competitive advantage. Gimpy is really good, obviously. We secured that HP, which is nice. Gimpy is now, like, actually worth something. When it's not given a Spirit Hearts, which is for the best. The Fool, huh? I hate these curses. We also have a pretty solid luck stat. Walked right into it, I'll admit. Walked right into it. And a luck stat doesn't mean anything until it does. By which I just mean to say, like, you don't really notice it until you get to the chest, and you're like, why am I getting, like, an item a second? You're like, oh. Probably not, at 2.86 luck, we wouldn't be overly, confident in that, but okay, a useless world card, but kind of good to know that it exists, and a question mark card, which is actually a great fit here, because the world card could be awesome on our next floor. Unfortunately, it's not very good right now, but that's okay. Did we go this way? We did not go this way. I'm trying to do the mental cartography in my head, and I'm like, it doesn't even feel like we should be able to go that way. Like, in my head, I'm like, we're, like, turned inside out now. Like, the whole map is turned inside out. We did teleport out of this direction, right? I think we teleported out of this direction. Anyway, it's good. It is, it's American Thanksgiving weekend as of the time that I'm recording this. Hope you, have had a good Thanksgiving, if there's something you celebrate. You know what, this is pretty huge. A little dangerous, but also pretty huge. Now we're looking, because we don't come back as Dark Judas first. That's going to be, like, later in the game. But still worth it to take it, considering the position we're in right now is still very similar. And we've got Dark Judas really backing us. Like, let me put it this way, okay? Like, I was going to talk a little bit about Thanksgiving. Basically, you know, I mean, I know that there's some spicy things you could obviously say about Thanksgiving, but mostly just to say, like, hey, I hope, you know, it's been a hard year for a lot of people. I hope you're staying safe, but also simultaneously finding a way to, you know, connect with friends and family. But what I want to say now is that all we have to do, like, there's a couple steps, but hear me out. We make it to the chest. On the chest, whenever you get a spirit heart or a demon heart, don't pick it up until you find the final boss door. Then you can pick it up when you find the final boss door, if you think it'll give you enough to live. Or alternatively, you could simply respawn as Dark Judas and then do it. But honestly, this kind of fell apart here because we're definitely just going to take Satanic Bible. And you might think, why not come back as Dark Judas? And the thought did cross my mind, and then I thought to myself, what, 73 damage isn't enough for you? And I realized, you know, that's pretty apt. We should be okay with 73 damage and embrace the defensive hedge that we get as a result of having 9 lives to back us up in case we fundamentally forget how to play the game, which does happen from time to time. Like, for example, right there, where I was like, you know what? Taking damage is bad, but you know what's great? Getting a little black powder damage we won't even notice in the long term. Either way, you know, it's... Again, the holiday season is a little compromised this year, there's no doubt about it, or at least it should be. But I hope you're able to, you know, do a Zoom Christmas or a Zoom Thanksgiving or Discord. I'm kind of like, I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't get Zoom. And I also want to say, in addition to this, I was using Zoom legitimately before 99.9% of the people watching this. This is one of those moments where you're like, well, if I just bought $1,000 in Zoom stock 5 years ago, think like it's a missed boat. But we used Zoom instead of Skype for Roundtable because Skype was garbage and it was readily apparent. But Zoom was also like a little trash in 2016, 2017. So I used to, like, every once in a while in Vancouver, I would see, like, a Zoom billboard, and I would, like, point it out and laugh. Like, if I was in the car with someone, I would be like, hey, there's an ad for that crappy service we use for Roundtable. And now, like, Zoom is insane, right? Like, it's obviously, like, with Zoom classes and, like, Zoom meetings for workplaces and stuff during the pandemic, but I also still don't get it, like, what's the advantage of Zoom over, like, Google Meet or Microsoft Teams or etc., etc. Even, like, I'm surprised there's no, like, Discord classes. I guess you'd have to explain to the teacher why you have, like, an anime avatar instead of your face, but you know what I mean. They'd be like, why do 7 people in this class all have Bane as their avatar? I don't know. Maybe someone could explain it for me. Is it one of those things, and I don't want to necessarily just sound needlessly, like, poo-pooing it, because it's possibly changed a lot over the past few years, but, is it one of those things where it was just like everybody adopted it, so everybody adopted it, you know? It's like, a bottom-up sales strategy. You know what I mean by that? Like, a top-down sales strategy is when, you know, if you're a business or a service provider, you would pitch to, like, a CEO, like, hey, for your business, you should adopt this. You know, you should get smart garbage cans. And then bottom-up is rather, like, you market to the actual employees of the company, and then when, you know, 17% of the employees are using Zoom, they start pitching it to the CEO, and they go, okay, well, we're already using it anyway, so we might as well. Anyway, for now, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. It helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya!